All right, so now I'd like to introduce our first speaker. We have Tim Brosnahan, Executive Director for SEMI. So Tim, off to you.
Hi, thanks, Katie. As this opening slide says, our members need you. And I'll talk a lot about that. I am Tim Brosnahan, Executive Director of SEMI. We can go to the next slide. What is SEMI? All right, so SEMI is a global trade association for microelectronics design and manufacturing. We're kind of a big deal in the industry. We've been around for 50 years. We have over 2,500 member companies. And in all of those companies right now, finding talents and employees is their #1 problem. It's standing in the way of their growth, their innovation, and frankly, it's standing in the way of all of ours, me, you, everybody in the US, all of our national security and economic security. I'll talk more about that at the end. But our member companies have over 32,000 job openings across the country right now. So who are all those companies? Well, this crazy diagram here shows all types of companies in the semiconductor and microelectronics industry. It's grouped in rings. So starting in the middle there, we've got the raw materials, the material suppliers. It goes outwards to software companies, equipment companies, designers, the manufacturing, the system integrators, and all the way out at the end there. You probably know the companies in the outer ring. Those are the Apples, the Teslas, the Googles, Amazon. They're the companies that make the products you buy and use. You may not know the companies in those inner rings, like the ones who make the software that runs the factory or the chemicals that the factory uses. In those factories that make semiconductors, we call them fabs. So I'll be talking about fabs a lot in this. Right, so, but all of those companies, inner ring, outer ring, they're all important. They're all experiencing workforce shortages. And as I said at the start of the meeting, our member companies need you. Why you? Well, ex-military people are absolutely great at semiconductor jobs. Why is that? There's a lot of similarities. Both the military and semiconductors rely on very sophisticated equipment. Military personnel are trained to use expensive, cool gear, how to operate it, and they know how to maintain it. They know how to repair it, and they know how to fix that equipment. And you take great care of it, make sure everything's working properly, because you have to do it with great care. Lives depend on it. So now think about it. You take those same skills, that same mentality, the attention to detail, all of it, you bring it over to a fab, and wow, it's terrific. That training is equally effective at keeping a fab with all its sophisticated facilities and tools running smoothly. And that's what we need. Now stuff does go wrong, and that's another reason we like military people. When shit does hit the fan, military people know how to deal with unexpected problems. They get in there, they get things under control. So we need that. It's always been very comforting to me. I've hired a lot of military people for the fabs I've worked in, and it's really just good to know that we've got a good crew on the job, and when problems arise, they can get to them quickly. So we'll just click one time here, Katie. I'd love for you to hear from all these companies, but the two that just kind of got highlighted there are the ones we brought with us today. First, you'll hear from Onsemi and KLA, great companies in this industry, and they've brought veterans from their organizations to talk to you and tell you why. It's good there. So great, let's move on to the next slide. It's a busy slide with a lot of words here, but they're cool words, they're high-tech words, they're important ones. And I show that because, why is this an industry you'd want to work in? And you probably see those are some impressive things there that the world needs. This is a very stable industry. The electronics aren't going anywhere. It's a high growth industry. There's more and more electronics being used every day. So that means there's lots of room for you in this industry to learn and to grow as you become part of it. So, but for me personally, I just really like working in it because, semiconductors, they run everything these days. Everything runs a lot off electronics. I love bringing my kids into Best Buy and saying, I made a part that's in that. I made a part that's in that. So our phones, our homes, our cars, Katie mentioned those cars. You might not know it, 40% of the cost of a new car is electronics. They literally have thousands of chips in there running everything from monitoring the pressure in the engine all the way to helping with that cool automated park assist things there. So big in cars, big in phones, big everywhere. And really, they've enabled all the cool stuff. So that's kind of fun to do it. The next slide just says quite simply, without those people on the left who are making those chips in the middle, then we do not get any of the cool stuff we love on the right. We don't get our Amazons, our Netflix, our iPhones, you name it. So semiconductors are a critical piece of our modern lives and a great industry to work in. All right, and the next slide. So how many jobs are there? As I said at the beginning, right now there's 32,001 openings across the country. And where across the country? They're all over. This map shows you that. There are some hotspots, real hotspots for manufacturing, and I think they're in some areas that you might find attractive, such as California, Arizona, Oregon, Florida, a bunch up there in the Northeast. But my favorite down there is Texas, where I'm from. So if any of those areas appeal to you, definitely semiconductors, a lot of jobs there. But hey, you know what? If you like to travel, like many people do, there are certainly roles where you get to go all over the country or even all over the world. A good example is the tools and equipment makers in the US. They make a tool that needs to go in a factory. You would travel to wherever that factory is to install it. And that can be in the US, or it could be fun places like Europe or Japan as well. So lots of geographic opportunity as well. I alluded to this at the beginning. Semiconductor manufacturing is vital to national security. You know, in Washington, the politicians don't really seem to agree on too much these days, unfortunately. But there is one thing that they all agree on and are all behind. Republicans, Democrats, conservatives, liberals, they're all supporting the United States semiconductor industry. It's been declared a national security issue. Our military runs on electronics, our economy runs on electronics, and we can't continue to have the US rely on chips that are made in other countries. So it's important. We're grateful to all of you, the entire military community, for keeping us safe. You can continue to do that in kind of a different way, certainly, but by supporting the domestic electronics industry here in the US. So again, need your help. And it's not just talk. The government is actually putting their money, or I guess our money, tax money, where their mouth is. They are helping fund additional fabs or factories in the US. And that means more semiconductor jobs, additional job security, lots of opportunities, lots of growth. You don't have to wait for those factories to be built. There's good, high-paying jobs open right now. So I'll just repeat it one more time. My opening statement: our member companies need you. You don't have to take my word for any of this. The two companies we brought to you today, Onsemi and KLA, they will tell you about the job opportunities available now. They hire lots of former military. Several of those veterans are here today to tell you about how they transitioned from the military into the semiconductor industry and why it's worked out so well for them, and why service members in general do very well and are extremely valued in this industry. So stay tuned for them. I will just end with this slide here. I get a lot of questions about, does my MOS fit into microelectronics jobs? And hell yes, it does. This is a very short list here of military skills that map directly to semiconductor roles. These are the more technical ones, just because I'm a technical person. So any engineering training you got in the military, boom, direct fit into an engineering role. Technician work, repair, maintenance, absolutely. Lots of tech jobs there. You will need some new training, sure. But the companies provide that training, and you've already shown that you can handle much tougher training. So we know you can do it. Money-wise, great paying jobs. Salaries for technician jobs, very good. Engineering roles, even higher. And it's not just the tech training. You've got your soft skills alone. following process procedures, teamwork, understanding the mission, problem solving. These all make you very valuable employees. So, you'll find a lot of value in this type of roles as well. Not just the tech roles. There's openings in logistics, supply chain, what else? Human resources. We got sales, finance, marketing, communications, you name it. These are businesses like any other. They have a whole variety of needs, and there are job openings there. So whatever your training is, you can do this. Our industry members presenting today will probably be discussing some of the positions in greatest demand. So that's it. I just have one last thank you slide before I hand over the mic. And it's a reminder that, hey, type your questions in the chat. We'll answer them, or, be ready to ask them live at the end, do the Q&A session there. So with that, I'll hand the mic over. Onsemi team, you're up. Steve, take it away.
Hi, everybody. I'm Steve Willison. On one of the slides in here, it's going to give a little bit of a bio about me. So I'm going to hold for that part for when we get there. So if you want to just go to the next slide. All right, so who is Onsemi? I can tell you I didn't know the name of the company when I started working for them, but I can tell you they are in, it's like Ragu with the old commercials, it's in there. We make chips that go into a lot of different things and a lot of new speed things around the globe. You've got us in your pockets, you've got us in your house, refrigerators, microwaves, even light bulbs these days have chips in them. So who are we? We're Onsemi. We're headquartered, we are a US based company. So our headquarters is in Phoenix, Arizona. We make about, that was 2 years ago, but about $5.3 billion in 2020, which in reality was a down year. We got about 33,000, I think it might be more close to 35,000 employees worldwide. 44% of that workforce is female, 18% of the board of directors is female, 28% is minority workforce, and 6 employee resource groups, which are internal groups that work on diversity stuff. One of those groups is the veterans group, which is probably one of the most active that we do for a lot of training, whether it's internal, how do you apply for jobs, or external, bringing somebody in to talk about us about leadership or silicon carbide or other topics. We have 43 design centers. So the design centers are people designing the chips that we're going to make, 22 manufacturing sites. So that's where we make the stuff. And solution centers, those 8 solution centers is where we partner with customers. So it could be a downstream customer like an automotive company that says, hey, we really need this convenient feature to work better. We need this door to do this. We need this sensor to do that. And we partner together with them to try to create a product and chip, whether that downstream is going to be, that is then going to allow both of us to be successful, that we're helping them design it. They're utilizing it for exactly what they need. Go ahead, jump to the next one. Thank you very much. All right, so I'm going to do the right side here. Onsemi, we have a veteran and military employee resource group. Some of the functions that we have, silicon carbide technology. So maybe some of you know this, maybe some of you don't, but a lot of the new chips coming out are actually, they're silicon, and then the new stuff is all silicon carbide. And in silicon carbide, that is elongating a lot of battery life, decreasing resistance. Those speed chargers that you got plugged into the wall that charged it like that instead of waiting the full hour, that's silicon carbide. The technology for it's changing dramatically, and a lot of stuff going solar and electric vehicles too. Veterans resource, we have internal veterans resources for assistance. That's where we're trying to guide people who work for us that are veterans into services that are actually outside of us, but maybe something we could still partner with them to get. We do internal training. I like to hire for attitude and train for aptitude. So, people that come in, we could get a lot done just from having the right attitude in the building. And I find that very promising. Some other things we did was leadership discussions and advisement, roadmap for SkillBridge. If you're familiar with SkillBridge at a lot of your bases, I don't remember SkillBridge when I was in, but the TAP program was pretty active, but SkillBridge has certainly taken a big step. We're a military-friendly organization for employer, spouse employer, and also supplier. So working with suppliers that are veteran-owned supply organization. All right, so that's me on the top left. I'd say it's not a very becoming picture, but it is what it is. I was in the Air Force I just did my original time, which was 4. I was in voluntary extended, actually. So I actually had 5 years on active duty. I was a cop. Loved it, loved working, loved being in the military and everything. But when it was time for me to get out, I decided to get out. Why did I join Onsemi? Well, the first thing is I actually have been in the microchip industry for 20 years. Onsemi is about the 3rd microchip company that I've worked for. Why am I in this industry? One, travel. I do still enjoy going to other cultures. I've always been interested in that. So when I was looking for places where I wanted to work, I wanted travel. I wanted a publicly traded company because stock, there was usually additional benefits that go along with it. I wanted high tech because I liked the speed of the environment and everything. And the 4th one, I'd be lying to you if it wasn't money. The industry pays very well. So those were the reasons I transitioned. The military, I went through the TAP program. It transitioned me very well. I was looking forward to starting the new chapter. That was very helpful. But here to help additional veterans getting out any way we can. Big advocate for the veterans group. So I know my time is limited. I wish I was there with you in person for all the different places, but now I'm going to segue over so Darren can go over his piece there. Thank you.
Well, good morning or good afternoon. My name is Darren Hooks, and I am the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion leader here at Onsemi here in Phoenix, Arizona. So I asked some people, how do they, when I talk with people to get them to understand the company Onsemi and make a relationship to them, sometimes I have to go back into history. Onsemi was formerly branded Onsemi Conductor. But prior to then, you may know us as Motorola. So we came from a division of Motorola and now to Onsemi. So that's how you may recognize us. So I am here in Phoenix, Arizona. We have opportunity for you. Come join us. My background in the military, I'm a retired lieutenant colonel from the United States Air Force Reserves. So those that are not Air Force, Army, and Marines, please don't hold that against me. But I am retired after 25 years. My AFSC, to those in the Air Force, or MOS to the Army and the Marines and other types, and to those that are non-military, my job description. I've held several careers throughout my military career in the reserves. I first started out in civil engineering, a 32 E3G. Then after about 10, 12 years, I moved into communications, a 33S. And then prior to around my last few years of my career, I moved into the command post. I have multiple deployments, active duty deployments to Iraq, Afghanistan, Saudi Arabia, and other places that are undisclosed. But it's a pleasure to be here. My journey into the Air Force, again, is through the reserves, or into corporate America through the reserves. I now at Onsemi, I also was employed at Intel Corporation and also at Motorola. And all of the above semiconductor manufacturers had outstanding programs for military transitioning and also for veterans. So we have opportunity for you. And next slide, please. So here's some of the opportunities that is available. So we're talking about the semiconductor industry, but we also have opportunity available for not only the technical areas as we see here, but the operations and support areas, management, logistics, security, marketing, finance, human resources, safety, as well as the traditional engineering and manufacturing. So you don't have to be a tech expert to join our company. How do you apply? So you go to onsemi.com/careers and you apply to jobs that are available there. Now, what are some of the benefits of joining Onsemi? Well, your benefits would start day one, all of your employee benefits. We have very competitive salaries. We have a flexible workplace, tuition reimbursement, on-site gyms, cafeterias, and basically we work as a team culture. I'm also part of the veterans and military employee group that Steve chairs. And so I'm also a part of that. And we come alongside each other, mentor each other, help each other in job growth and development. How you can contact us, Steve Willison, as you can see the email address there, and my email address right below that. Next slide, please. Throughout our industry, we have, as a company, achieved multiple recognitions. And so these are just some that we are proud of. World's most ethical companies, Dow Jones Sustainable Indices, World Finance Awards, and there are others that are not shown here on the slide, but we are a up and coming, very progressive company. We look forward to you reaching out and joining our ranks. Thank you. And next, I will open it up to our KLM representatives. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Darren. Welcome to the KLA portion of today's presentation. First off, I want to thank you to the Heroes Make America team and the Semi team for putting this event together. Thank you for all the military members for joining today, and most importantly, thank you for your service. For today in the KLA portion, we have 3 military veterans that will share their bio, and then we'll get into some information about KLA as a company. Next slide, please. Starting with Amanda.
All right, can everybody hear me okay?
Sure can.
Great, thanks so much. Hi, everybody. My name is Amanda Fava, and I am a sales account manager for KLA. I am in a customer-facing sales role that typically requires about 50% travel, and most of my customers are located across the Northeast US and Canada. So I grew up in Rochester, New York, and enlisted in the National Guard shortly after 9/11. My MOS was helicopter avionics mechanic, 15 November. During my enlistment, I was deployed to Tikrit, Iraq for about 12 months. When I returned from deployment, I started looking for technical jobs in a few different industries. I was looking for something that my military training and skills could translate over to in the civilian sector. You're probably familiar with Orion. They are a job recruiting company working with veterans as they transition into civilian jobs. They found me on monster.com and introduced me to some hiring companies. I accepted an offer from KLA in 2006 as a customer support engineer. They had the best reputation of the companies that I was considering. They had a compelling compensation package. I really was attracted to the travel overseas and domestically, and they had a really good training program. So when I started in that role, I was just relieved they were so supportive of still my guard commitments. When I started as a service engineer, I had to work with my manager to schedule my travel and training around my weekend drills and AT. In fact, most of my peers were prior military, so we had that connection right off the bat, and we all had some great stories to share. So while at KLA, I started my undergrad in business and project management, and I took advantage of KLA's development programs, which led me up the path to my current role in sales. There are a lot of opportunities of growth within KLA, and I can personally attest to that. So for hobbies, I spend a lot of my free time watching my kids play soccer and hockey, and I volunteer to help with their teams. I do a lot of reading on planes, and I'm already making my plans to go see the Bills play in Buffalo this fall, so go Bills. Thanks so much for listening, and I look forward to any of your questions later on.
Sounds good. Thanks, Amanda. Next slide. All right, my name is Jeff Reese. I've been with KLA for 27 years. I currently hold a position as a senior field support manager in Phoenix, Arizona. I also spent 23 years in the military between active duty and the National Guard. In 2003, I deployed with the Arizona Army National Guard to Iraq for Operation Iraqi Freedom and spent about 14 months away on deployment. KLA was an amazing as far as supporting me and my family while I was deployed, and as well as supporting me throughout my military career when I continued to serve in the National Guard after even coming back from deployment. I enjoy things like football, hiking and camping as well. And I currently have a bachelor's degree in engineering and a master's degree as an MBA. I've had plenty of opportunities with KLA to travel. I've traveled internationally in Asia and Europe. So certainly if you enjoy not only KLA, but the semiconductor industry, there's opportunities to explore, not only here in the United States, but also internationally as well. Go ahead and go next slide. We'll turn it over to Chris.
Hey there. So I'm Chris Tevins, U.S. Navy veteran. I was on the USS Abraham Lincoln. I was a nuclear trained machinist mate, so I operated nuclear reactors in the engine room for 2 deployments. I went up to Ballston Spa, New York, and I was an instructor for 3 years up there, training the next generation of nuclear operators. Got out of the Navy and immediately got a job. I left on Friday and reported to KLA on Monday morning. So it was a real quick transition. Just drove 15 minutes one way to 15 minutes the other way. I actually was with KLA for 3 years. I left for about 18 months, went over to General Electric, and then KLA brought me back. That's actually not uncommon in KLA. There's a lot of people that leave and end up coming back. So I came back as a lead service engineer. I moved over into a marketing manager, and now I've came into a service manager role. So I have a team of 10 people reporting to me now. Currently have my master's done, engineering management systems out of Clarkson up in New York. And I was in the woods this morning for 2 hours bird watching before coming back online and getting in there. So I do some bird watching, learn some Swedish when I'm not busy with customers. So that's me in a nutshell.
Sounds good, Chris. Thank you. To kick things off with KLA, we have a video that we wanted to share with the team.
Technology is the strongest force shaping our lives today. While everyone is familiar with consumer brands at the forefront of this reality, not many are aware of the enablers of this force of modernity working behind the scenes. Meet KLA, the technological powerhouse standing behind many of the tech breakthroughs of our time. Many of the electronic devices you touch are functional thanks to our innovative systems. These devices sing, move, and laugh because behind the scenes and buried within are the pieces and parts that anticipate your wishes and transform your commands into a flurry of electrical signals. Electron speed from sensors to chips to connectors deep within each chip, traveling on roads 10,000 times thinner than a human hair through a miniature technological landscape that is built by manipulating atoms with extraordinary precision. As it's being constructed, KLA systems traverse the landscape, finding the smallest imperfections and identifying atomic scale variations. And they carry out this mission of discovery for hundreds of manufacturing steps across the 15 billion transistors that can comprise just one chip. That's 2 times more transistors than the entire world's population. Our discovery drives electronics manufacturing perfection because when the parts and pieces are functional and reliable, the devices you use are better, faster, and most importantly, smarter, allowing you to discover the next medical breakthrough, your next ride home, the next frontier, our future. We invite you to face the most complex problems known to mankind. Together, we can turn theory into reality and create devices that will transform the future. Join us today in advancing humanity tomorrow. KLA, keep looking ahead.
All right, sounds good. Let's take a deeper dive into KLA as a company. So KLA develops semiconductor industry leading equipment and services. We were founded as a company in 1976 and currently have a footprint in 19 different locations worldwide. We currently have over 12,000 employees supporting over 72,000 systems in our worldwide install base. And we achieved greater than $8 billion in revenue in calendar year 21. And in calendar year 21, we were also selected to the Fortune 500 list. And in calendar year 22, we were selected to the Fortune 500 World's Most Admired Companies. These are distinctions that we as a company are very proud of. Go ahead and go next slide. KLA has a broad portfolio of products that can be found throughout the entire semiconductor ecosystem. Our product diversity is one of our company's strengths. Next slide. Our strong product diversity has led to our market leadership position, and our market share level is 4x that of our nearest competitor. Next slide. The key area of focus to help our customers drive highly efficient chip development by using our products is to detect and fix issues as early as possible and help with accelerate our customers' time to market for the products that they manufacture. Next slide, please. Our product portfolio is constantly growing, which keeps us ahead of our competition. We have a tool for every step in the chip manufacturing process. Time. Go ahead and go next slide. When you look inside our products, you can see KLA's core technologies and expertise is expansive. Our engineers work in a multiple disciplinary environment where they are constantly learning and solving challenging problems. And go next slide. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Chris, and he's going to talk about some of the key positions that we're targeting for folks like yourself transitioning from the military into a civilian career.
Yeah, so I wanted to go over two pretty representative positions that KLA has open that military technicians can easily transfer into, but don't think that these are the only positions that military members would be able to fill. So the first one would be install engineers. And install engineers right now, our location is over on the West Coast, a lot in Arizona or out in Oregon. I think that we're also hiring a couple in Michigan, which can maybe be updated here. So we have some responsibilities where really you would go to a customer site where there's a new tool, you would install it or you would upgrade it. You would meet with the customer, have a lot of customer service, do all the setup, unpacking, basically install the whole thing, calibrate it, and turn it over to the customer so that they could begin using it. The key qualification we're looking for is either a degree in mechanical or electrical engineering or equivalent experience, good English language skills, and being able to talk to people. A lot of flexibility, lots of adaptability. You're definitely going to be working on your own a lot of the time while being supported from a home-based location. And this includes up to 70% travel. So this is definitely a travel position for install engineers. Next slide. And then our other one is our customer support engineers. Our customer support engineers do the day-to-day maintenance on the tools that after the install engineers have already installed them. So you can see where our locations are in the US. Pretty much everywhere that you would want to be, we got a spot. Key responsibilities are, you troubleshoot a lot of down problems and you do a lot of preventative maintenance. That's the key. You either repair what's fixed or you maintain it so it doesn't break. You aid the install teams on equipment startup when you're able to, and really drive down to root cause analysis on those items. Key qualifications, we're looking for, again, bachelor's level degree or 1 to 2 years of work experience with a lot of focus on troubleshooting. You're going to be spending about 50% of the time at the customer site or in a clean room factory environment. So that's one key thing, is that you're going to be in a clean room suit a lot of the time. It will be much cleaner than probably any military job that you've ever had. You have to be able to use, basic equipment that you would use for diagnosis, a lot of voltmeters, oscilloscopes, flow meters, and of course, like every job in KLA, you need to have good interpersonal and communication skill. That's important when you're talking to the customer, that you remember that you represent KLA when you're out there.
Sounds good. Thanks, Chris. So Chris touched upon the clean room environment. So we take a deeper look into that type of environment as you transition from wearing a military uniform to wearing the required clean room suit. life in the semiconductor industry will introduce you to working environments that are cleaner than your average operating room. So this gives you a peek inside of not only what we as KLA do in supporting our customers, but all as well as all the different companies, whether it's manufacturing, equipment manufacturing, or chip manufacturing, all work within this type of environment, which is the clean room environment that requires you to wear these type of suits. We call it the bunny suit. Opportunities ahead for KLA. Take an opportunity if you're interested. Use these links to find out about career opportunities within KLA across not only the United States, but obviously worldwide as well. And also you can use the below links to learn more about KLA if you're interested in getting more additional background on who we are as a company and more detail on what we do. And that is all that we have. I'll turn it back over to the Heroes Make America team.
Sure. And actually, Tim, do you have any final words before we start a Q&A session, or shall we start the Q&A?
Yeah, one thing I forgot to mention, I hope a lot of people online look at GI Jobs, the monthly publication for military's next jobs. On the cover is actually a semiconductor veteran, president of TEL, one of the biggest equipment manufacturers in the semiconductor world. And he talks about the need and why military people will go in there. I think Margaret just put a link into it, and yeah, it's in the chat. Check it out. It's somebody who came out of the military and rose all the way to the top, president of one of the biggest semiconductor companies. So it's a great read, and hopefully it will inspire you to join.
All right, well, we appreciate all the information and learning about the semiconductor industry in general. So at this point, let's go ahead and open it up for questions. I know there are several that have already been dropped in the chat. If you've been looking through, you'll also see some other companies have joined us and thrown in some information in the chat box regarding positions at their companies as well. So remember, SEMI is an association of a lot of different companies. And so you've got some different reps in here as well. So let's start the questions off with Trevor. Go ahead and unmute and ask your question.
Hi, so I know Chris from KLA touched on it a little bit, but I was just curious, I guess, for any of the other representatives here, like how they value years experience for military members who don't have a degree or are pursuing a degree when they get out, and how that kind of affects the positions they're able to get at those companies.
Do you want me to go into that from the KLA side there, Trevor?
Sure. Yeah, it was kind of like I said, it was kind of open for everyone, just to see kind of how it's valued, I suppose.
Sure. So I would say, at least for KLA, KLA, especially on the CSE side, a degree is one of those nice to have, but it's definitely not needed at all for any CSE. There's plenty of CSEs who join and are successful, and I can think of one in particular who keeps saying he's going to complete his degree, but at this point he's already like 2 levels above me, and will probably never finish it. So you're able to be plenty successful in KLA without a degree in certain career paths.
Same from and
Same for Onsemi. Oh, I'm sorry, Steve, go ahead.
You were already saying the exact thing I was saying, so yeah, give it a shot. Yeah, it's the same for us. It depends on the position. I used to go and do veterans outreach all the time and try to, and by the way, I'd open it up to anybody on here too. My phone's blowing up, so a lot of people are already hitting me up on LinkedIn. Go ahead. Matter of fact, you want to ask me any questions? It doesn't even need to be about microchips. I mean, in reality, I am doing this because I very much want to help veterans, the people that served, and I was a part of that for a short period of time and a great part of my life. So you want to hit me up and say, I'm thinking about applying for a job. Is this an idea to ask? Is this a good question? I will get to everybody's question. If you want to ask me, feel free to hit me up because I'm here to help. But in regards to your question about education, yeah, there's some jobs that they need education for, but there's a lot of jobs that don't. And like I said in the beginning, attitude, and we could figure out aptitude. So you want to be a technician, you want to work around, still want to turn the wrench, use your mind, use your tools. Yeah, that's something that you don't necessarily need a degree for. Good. Okay.
Perfect. Any other questions? If you want to utilize that raise hand feature, it's under the reactions. Oh, Jason, what's your question?
I know with the semiconductors and the issues from post-pandemic supply chain, are you guys seeing any issues or problems with some of the support facilities that you have, them having to do, I don't know, like shutdowns or anything of that nature? And how does it affect your business?
Since I'm already unmuted, I mean, sometimes you have slowdowns, right? You may, maybe it's a little bit tougher to get gases, chemicals, and things like that, but they're still coming. Shutdowns, I mean, I can only speak from, myself from Onsemi and the companies that I closely work with, and I do work closely with other microchip companies on a couple of different activities. We're all running full bore. I mean, I haven't, unless the shutdown is for some kind of tool maintenance where we need to take down a fab for a short period of time, they're cooking, man. They're moving full speed.
Yeah, I'll add to that. Semiconductor manufacturers and their suppliers are considered essential. There really has been very low occurrences of facilities actually having to shut down. They're super safe, but really we need to keep producing those chips, and we know that they're essential.
Awesome.
Good question.
So sorry, I thought I heard Trevor ask about entry level and years of experience in the military and how that affects how they enter into a technician job. Ian Everett with Corvo, I'm the director of equipment engineering. Really, we consider your years of experience along with the training that you have in your background for where we place you into our technician positions. We have 5 levels, level 1 through 5, and most of the military folks that we bring in are coming in at a level 2 or level 3. So hopefully that answers your question.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Let's see, Bill, I see your hands up.
Hi, everybody. Thank you. Appreciate it, Katie. Just kind of a general question. We're a SD Vosby equipment leasing company. Is there any interest level for the manufacturing plants, material handling, IT stuff for diversity spending, specifically in the equipment leasing sector? Anybody?
Let me make sure I understand the question here. So are you a diversity supplier or a vendor?
Yeah, we're a diversity supplier. Yeah, service disabled, veteran-owned small business. We do equipment leasing across a wide range of industries and asset classes. Look to make long-term partnerships with Fortune 1000 companies, contractors, et cetera, who value the diversity spend and the supply diversity.
A part of the corporate social responsibility is to and how we're measured from a financial standpoint on Wall Street is to make sure we're doing environmental social governance, make sure that we are doing the right things as far as employing the right diverse talent, making sure that we do the due diligence to employ diverse vendors. And so the answer to that question is yes. There are opportunities, I believe, across all the industry to employ diverse vendors such as yourself.
Thank you.
Okay.
Awesome. Thanks, Darren. Let's see, what other questions do we have? Does anyone want to raise their hand? Or Rachel, did you see any questions in the chat that we can address?
I did. I saw one question. Luis Rangel asked if there were any hiring locations or if any of those on the call had hiring locations in the Kansas City, Missouri or Kansas City, Kansas area. And then another student asked about North Carolina.
So Onsemi, we have locations around the world. And I think what would be better served if I invite you to come out to onsemi.com. And there you'll find all of the locations, international, because I know some are currently maybe deployed or stationed overseas. So it'll show all of the locations that we have and then the job opportunities that's currently open. So hopefully that helps. Onsemi.com.
So for Corvo, we have job opportunities worldwide as well. We have manufacturing sites in Richardson, Texas, Hillsboro, Oregon, and Greensboro, North Carolina. So we do have a North Carolina manufacturing operations site.
Yep, and my name is Tina Rebels. I work with KLA. So as you'll see in the chat, Cheryl G, there's a message from Cheryl G, and she put all of our KLA work locations in the chat bar. So you can take a look there. As far as North Carolina, we sometimes have one-off positions there with one of the companies that we recently acquired, SPTS. So right now, I don't think we do have an opening, but typically we would have a role open in that location that might be a fit for you. So keep a lookout on our careers website, please.
And as I said at the beginning, we represent 2,500 member companies. There's even more than that who aren't members out there. If you're looking for a job in a particular location, what some people I've advised have found successful is go to Google Maps and type in semiconductor companies near Athens, Georgia, or wherever you like. You'll be surprised what pops up. You'll get a list of probably 15, 20 semiconductor companies around most major metropolitan areas. And then it's just a simple matter of taking those companies and putting them into a web search, and it'll bring you to, you'll find Corvo, you'll go to Corvo's website, find KLA, Onsemi, others, and many more. You just go to their website, and they all have right at the top of their webpage, have a button called careers. Click on careers, it'll list all their job sites. But yeah, you'll be surprised. There's semiconductor companies all over the US. I know that map I showed hotspots. It's not just those hotspots. Wherever you want to live, do that kind of search. You'll find some.
Awesome. Thanks for that piece of advice, Tim. I know a lot of them, they're everywhere. Our folks are all across the country looking at all different types of companies. So I appreciate that advice. I also did see in the chat, and it may depend on position, but a couple of folks had asked about remote opportunities. Obviously, working in the lab is one thing, but are there remote opportunities in companies like these? And that could be for any of you.
For KLA, yes, there's definitely opportunities to work remote. In some of our positions, though, it's a balance, almost like a hybrid type, where there's a need for you to be on site at the customer site, but then there's also a need for you to work remote as well.
Same with us, depends on the job.
All right, so that's good to know, though, because I know some folks are looking remote. So there are options. I think moral of the story is do a little research on the companies near where you want to relocate to, go through the postings, and then reach out to folks at those companies through platforms like LinkedIn. Connect with folks on LinkedIn and ask those questions. All right, so any other questions from our participants? You want to raise your hand, throw it in the chat box.
We did have one in the chat. I know a couple of companies have responded, but more for our presenters. They asked, do you offer, and what types of relocation assistance do you offer?
Yeah, and I saw somebody answered it. It's the same answer for Onsemi. Most of them do the same. Could be a lump sum, could be a reload package. Once again, it depends on the job, location, and stuff like that. But generally, you're going to find a lot of the same answers. These are all good companies. Corvo, KLA, everybody's a good company out here. You're not gonna, if you decide, it's more like if it fits your mission of what that company does. So.
Perfect. Any last questions?
As a program manager for one of our sites, I'm going to ask a quick question of our speakers, especially with so many of you being veterans. What's one piece of advice that you would give to those in attendance when it comes to an interview? Because I think that's sometimes where they struggle, is helping translate verbally those skills. So one piece of advice, a do or a do not for an interview.
I'm happy to start. I know from interviewing a lot of military people, very modest, don't seem to like to brag a lot. Brag, we love to hear it. You guys have so many great experiences, so many skills. Just give the whole list of things you've done in the military. You'd be surprised how valuable even some of the things you might think are small and no big deal. It's skills nobody else has. So brag on the interviews. It'll I think it'll help.
Definitely don't undervalue yourself. And if you think that you may not be qualified for a position, there's no harm in applying for it. You'd be surprised on what we're looking for. Most of the companies would agree with me.
I would say be persistent, print out that job description. And if you think that you remotely could apply to it and qualify for it, draw a parallel between what it's asking and similarities that you've done in your current career field, MOS or AFSC. And although you may not meet it, straight on, if there's parallels that you can show, then it's highly possible that you still can apply for that job and get it.
Yeah, so for the best thing I can probably say, at least for technicians, is that literally no one, unless you've already worked on KLA equipment, knows how to work on KLA equipment. So if you're like, I don't know how to do any of this stuff, if you know how to troubleshoot, if you know how to tear things apart and put it back together, you probably know how to work on KLA equipment. We just need to take those skills that you have and turn them into actually how to work on our items.
Every company trains, so just bring a willingness to learn, you'll go far.
Exactly. Take time to prep. All the different groups that presented today has provided a variety of information, a variety of links. So take time to research the company and learn about the company. You'll find a wealth of information on the internet, not only about the position that you're interested in, but about the company itself. So take time to prep and understand what the company's about, understand their values, and understand how you fit within those values, because that'll carry over into your interview as well.
All right, all great pieces of advice. We often encounter that with our transitioning service members and our veterans. Underselling yourself. It's not we anymore. It's me. What did I do to help the unit, the team, whatever? So brag on yourself. This is not a time to be humble. So great advice from all of our folks. So we are just about at that time. I have put up some next steps. Go and explore careers. Go on the websites that we put in the chat box. Connect with the folks on LinkedIn, send those connection requests. So this is how you learn about the industry, learn about the positions, make sure you're connecting with those folks, okay? Also, be sure you're following us on LinkedIn and Facebook. So Heroes Make America is on both platforms, and then follow the hashtag Heroes Connect M2M. So Heroes Connect Military to Manufacturing. Next, we have, next week we have Cargill, so be sure to join us next week as well for that presentation. But for now, thank you all for participating. Thank you to our SEMI companies who are here educating us on the different opportunities in the companies that they work for. So thank you all. That's it. That's a wrap. So that's it for the hour. If you have questions, reach out to those folks with the links that they posted. Other than that, that's it. So thank you all for joining us.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.